We're moments away from the closing bell. I'm Scarlet Fu.
I'm Joe Weisenthal.
And I'm Alex Steele.
Market minutes. Now let's take a deep dive into the Bloomberg.
All right, so we talked yesterday about the sell-off in Deutsche Bank's CoCos, this sort of interesting spot in the capital structure, convertible contingent securities that could go from yield-paying instruments to equity. It's not just Deutsche Bank.
Credit default swaps of these bonds. And if you come inside the Bloomberg, I'm looking at some of the Deutsche Bank, UniCredit, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, their credit default swaps over the next 5 years versus some of the industrials like a Caterpillar and a Boeing. And would you believe it that currently we're seeing Goldman Sachs, UniCredit,
The financially exposed companies.
Yeah.
And speaking of industrials, I'm taking a look at industrial production in Europe. Come inside the Bloomberg. These are year-over-year moves. Germany is the white line, and today they reported a drop of 2.2% in December, the worst performance since.
Minneapolis Fed President Narayana Kocherlakota put on his blog today. He said going negative is daring way more, and that's really what this is a failure of using money. Why doesn't that behavior work?
Victor Hagani, Elm Partners CEO, joining us in London. Thank you.
We've got breaking news.
Start with that NFIB Small Business Optimism Survey. I just thought this was incredibly telling because it perfectly encapsulates the dilemma facing the Fed. They ask questions like, how many job openings do you have? And the number of businesses with job openings right now continues to rise, a net 29% of good on the inflation and pricing survey, or aspect of it. This survey from this morning really neatly encapsulates it.
Absolutely. I'm sure we're going to be hearing about that from Janet Yellen in some capacity tomorrow. Well, I was really puzzled of why emerging markets were holding up somewhat better than developed markets over the last few weeks. So I charted the correlation between the emerging market index versus the euro dollar.
And with the Star Wars movie boosting the studio division, I guess people were not buying enough of the Star Wars swag.
I only went once, so I couldn't help them out. I know. I guess my 16-month daughter, right?
But they had those positions on, and precisely.
Well, right now, emerging markets is a value.
I mean, that is the
most important.
I'm Scarlet Fu. What'd you miss? Twitter. It's facing an existential crisis. It's in the middle of a business turnaround. It's bleeding top executives. And now, analysts at Stifel Nicholas wrote, quote, Twitter is a product that has never fully developed into a sustainable public company. Let's see what the numbers say, and the numbers don't lie. The critical number for investors is monthly active users. After Facebook, Twitter is the second most prominent social networking site with more than 300 million users. Since it has a smaller user base, Twitter, which is the orange line, should be growing faster than Facebook, which is the white line, but it's not anymore. On top of that, only 44% of Twitter users are active daily users versus 2/3 of Facebook users. Bloomberg Intelligence says that Twitter's user engagement, which is the ratio of daily active users to monthly ones, is critical for the company going forward. And that's because daily users, like Joe Weisenthal with his 106,000 followers, generate the content that drives the traffic critical to boost new users and growth prospects. Now, here's the good news. Twitter's average revenue per user has tripled in the past 3 years. Its ad volume per number of tweets, or ad load, has also been increasing, but it's still just 1/3 of Twitter's own target. Continued ad load growth is driving sales, even though user and engagement numbers have fallen. Analysts are also worried the brain drain in upper management will impede product execution. Here's a snapshot of Twitter's slowing employee growth over the 1-year period. We'll be following monthly active users and the rest of Twitter's results when it reports earnings after the U.S. closing bell on Wednesday. Alex?
Good picture.
What you need to know to gear up for tomorrow's trading day, that is next. I'm Scarlet Fu. What'd you miss?
Don't miss Chinese money supply data tonight. Want to get another look at what's going on with the Chinese economy.
And don't miss this. Time Warner earnings due out tomorrow at 7 a.m. before the bell. Question about how much HBO subscriber growth has grown.
And, of course, Tesla earnings after the bell tomorrow, 4:15 p.m. Corey Johnson was just talking about it. It's all about that free cash flow.
And, of course, Janet Yellen.
Tomorrow.
Have a great evening.